So, you see one of those little delivery robots zipping down the sidewalk and you think, huh, neat. But have you ever stopped to think about what's really going on behind the scenes? Turns out, it's a massive, surprisingly complex puzzle.
I mean, let's be real, we're all part of this. Online shopping has completely changed our lives. We tap a button on our phone, and just like that, a day or two later, sometimes even hours, a box just appears. This isn't just some passing trend, it's a global shift, and it is growing like crazy.
And just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, back in 2019, and this was before the pandemic kicked everything into overdrive, more than 100 billion parcels were shipped across the globe. 100 billion! And that number has only shot up since then.
Now, every single one of those packages has to make it to its final destination, your house. This final step, what the logistics world calls the last mile, is by far the most expensive and complicated part of the whole trip. We're talking up to 50% of the total shipping cost, not to mention all the traffic and pollution it creates in our cities. So, to tackle this whole last mile mess, companies are looking to the future. And that future, they hope, is full of autonomous delivery robots. The promise is pretty amazing: cleaner, quieter, and way more efficient deliveries.
So what are these things exactly? Well, they're not delivery trucks. They're these small electric pods that just cruise along on the sidewalk. But here's the catch, and this is the key to our whole puzzle. Most of them can only carry one package at a time. And that means, after every single delivery, they have to go all the way back to their home base.
Right, and that one package rule, it sounds simple, but it creates this massive scheduling nightmare. It's not as easy as just sending a robot from point A to point B. You have to coordinate an entire fleet of them to hit hundreds of different delivery windows, all while keeping an eye on their battery levels.
Think about it. Every single robot is stuck on this endless, rigid loop. Grab a package, drive to the customer, drive all the way back to the depot, and then probably recharge. Every single delivery is a full round trip. It's this repetitive cycle that's at the heart of the scheduling puzzle. Okay, one robot, one customer, piece of cake. But what happens when you've got a fleet of, say, 10 robots and 50 different customers all expecting packages at different times? Suddenly, the number of possible schedules just explodes into the millions. It becomes a ridiculously hard math problem to solve on the fly. So, what's the ultimate goal here? Well, it's not just about getting the package delivered. It's about keeping customers happy. The real objective is to minimize what's called squared delays. Now, that sounds technical, but the idea is actually really simple. The system would much rather have 3 packages arrive 5 minutes late than have a single package arrive an hour late. It penalizes those big, frustrating delays way more heavily to make sure the service is fair and consistent for everybody. Okay, so trying to calculate every single possible route for every robot is literally impossible. Your computer would just melt. Researchers knew they needed a much more clever way to do it. So instead of a brute force attack, they came up with this idea of building a smart map that finds the best path without getting lost in all the noise. And this slide really nails the difference. On the left, you have the brute force method. This is the dumb sledgehammer approach. It's like trying to map every single street in the country just to find a route across town. It's just impossibly slow. On the right, you've got smart refinement. This is the elegant surgical approach. It starts with a basic sketch and only adds the fine details where they're absolutely necessary. So how does the smart map actually get built? Well, it's pretty ingenious. The algorithm starts out super optimistic. It just sketches out a rough plan assuming perfect conditions, no traffic, infinite battery. Then it checks its own work. If it spots a problem, like, this robot's gonna run out of juice before it gets back, it zooms in on just that one part of the trip and refines it. It only adds a charging stop right where it's needed, which is what makes it so fast and efficient.
All right, so that's the theory. It sounds way smarter, but does it actually perform better in the real world? Let's take a look at the data.
A team of researchers over in Germany built 2 different versions of this smart strategy, one called iterative refinement and another called branch and refine. And they put them in a head-to-head competition against a standard off-the-shelf solver that uses that brute force method. And wow, the results are pretty dramatic. On this chart, the goal is to get as low as possible, as fast as possible. You see those messy blue lines way up top? That's the standard method. It's flailing, not really getting anywhere. But look at the red and green lines down below. Those are the new smart methods. And that green line in particular, The branch and refine one? It just crushes it, finding better solutions way faster. Let's put that in plain numbers, because this is where it really hits home. The standard solvers, they pretty much gave up after about 15 customers. The problem just got too big for them. But the new refinement methods, they were still going strong, solving for over 23 customers. That isn't just a small bump, it's a massive leap in capability that makes these systems actually viable. And this brings us right back to the whole point of this. This quote from the researchers says it all perfectly. All this complex math, all this clever programming, at the end of the day, it's all in service of a really human goal, making you, the customer, happier by getting your stuff on time. So the next time you see one of those little bots cruising down the sidewalk, you'll know. It's not just moving from A to B. It's performing a single step in an incredibly complex, perfectly choreographed dance. The question isn't really if robots can deliver our packages anymore, but how smartly we can schedule them. And it looks like we're finally starting to draw the right map.